Hey, how are you?
How's it going? My name is David.
David, what are you doing, Doug?
I'm sorry?
What are you doing, dude?
Alright, it's time for the WonderCon vlog. We're starting off here. I am still sleepy and groggy because I have to wake up for some pre-orders to go live over at McFarlane Toys, so I nabbed those, but that cut into my sleep. So right now, me and the missus, we're gonna go and get some coffee, some breakfast, and hit the road. Order coffee. Well, been having our coffee.
Finally kind of hitting us.
I was just trying to, get through the muskiness of everything. But we just arrived in Anaheim. They parked us, and it's already much more controlled. I was already telling her it's much more controlled than San Diego was for San Diego Comic Con. It's just parking, and immediately we're like,
Calm.
"This is great." Yeah.
It's cheaper.
Yeah. What are your expectations?
A little more calmer already seems. It doesn't feel as chaotic as it was. I don't feel in a hurry. And you see the panels are like kind of a little later.
Yeah, so the main objective today is to check out the McFarlane Toys panel to see if there's any like breaking news that I can talk to you guys about later on after the fact. I'll probably be filming another segment of this later as its own separate thing that's going to be like breaking news, kind of like whatever he reveals. Whether or not he talks about the DC license fiasco that's going on. And after the McFarlane Toys panel, he's going to have his own personal panel, just Todd McFarlane, literally just talking to the audience, taking questions. Maybe I'll ask a question. I'll try to go up there and ask a question. Best case scenario, I can maybe not have him for an interview. I see people like sometimes get an interview with him after panels for no reason, and they're like, for like 10 minutes, he sits down with them. He does that.
Hope so.
So I'll be sick. But we'll see. At that point, we'll also be hungry.
I'm excited to see stuff. I'm really excited.
But prior to that, we are gonna walk around the floor because those things like those are literally the only two panels that I want to check out. Other than that, there's actually I looked at the schedule. There's really not much.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a nice walk.
So we're just gonna walk through the booths, the aisles, Mike's Toys and stuff. One of my favorite vendors. He's here.
See him.
He has a clearance table. I want to see what that clearance table is all about.
Shopping.
And
Hope they have good books.
There's bound to be like a panel or a table of people that selling books. So
I'm like a kid in the candy store. I'm so excited.
Let's go check it out. Why is the button over here? The camera's over here, but the button's over there.
Pause?
No, it just sits up. I do like the packaging.
You and your damn packaging, I swear to God.
Well, I'm an action figure guy, so naturally this is gonna happen.
Okay, this one.
It smells nice, huh? Look at
Is
that.
it more?
You see? No, well, I'm showing off the reflective part first, and I'm hoping to God that whole pizza thing that happened to that streamer doesn't happen to me.
I can see them. Yeah.
You see them? Cookies, half a dozen.
Smell pretty.
We got what do we got? Chocolate chip, snickerdoodle, white macadamia, cowboy, which I definitely want to try, which I think is this big dick swinging over here. Got one, and the oatmeal, right? No, that's the oatmeal.
Oatmeal and then
that's the oatmeal.
Chip.
That's the cowboy chocolate chip. That's the white chocolate.
Yes.
That's the macadamia and the snickerdoodle. Okay, So we are wrapping up our time at Comic-Con. I know I'm doing it.
I'm sorry.
Now that's why I'm tired, because you were doing it the entire day.
I'm sorry because I'm Comic-Con.
WonderCon, which we only really went with for one day. I was a little still kind of groggy in the morning. Needed to get my coffee and my breakfast in, but now finally, after the full day has been over, and I don't resent it. Spoilers, I had a good time. I'm finally ready to say we went to WonderCon somewhat at the last minute. We were kind of percolating whether or not we were going to have the day off, but finally I pulled the trigger on badges just for the one day, Friday. We weren't going to do the whole 3 days because I figured, you know what, we have to save money. We have to be money conscious right now. But I thought that the good happy medium would be to do Friday, because that's when they had the McFarlane Toys panel, and then Todd McFarlane himself was going to have a secondary panel after that, just to kind of talk and shoot the shit like he said he was going to do. And that means that like 2.5 to 3 hours prior to that, we could just walk the floor. And you guys probably either saw footage prior to this wrap-up segment, or right now we'll cut to some B-roll of the shore floor where we had people cosplaying. We had some really intricate models of some robots, of Wall-E and R2-D2, and it was very intricate, very awesome. They stole the show right there on the floor. And just kind of, walked around. We saw some vendors. The reason why you'll probably not see too much footage, though, is because with WonderCon, it's cool and it's much more calm. It's much more controlled chaos, much more breathability and maneuverability than Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah.
Would you argue? Like, you can actually see everything. The only reason why we couldn't take more time is because we had to make it to the panel. And there's a lot more floor. Is it just me, or is there more floor to cover?
There was more floor, but there was less people, so maybe it
more
felt
floor,
like that.
less people. It was just more to walk. Whereas at Comic-Con, there's less to walk, but everyone's still like this.
Yeah.
That we're just like, and I can't see anything because there's literal bodies in the way.
It's almost like the floor.
Whereas
for
here,
Comic-Con was smaller.
we can't see. I can see everything, and everything. I can breathe easier. But because all the tables and all the booths and segments were, I think, a little bit more spaced out.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, after a while, we're like, oh shit, we gotta wrap up because we gotta go get good seats for the McFarlane Toys panel.
We had to go all the way up there.
But then the secondary reason for why you won't see too much footage is because, honestly, if you've been to any kind of collectible trade show, vendor show, like Frankenstein's, if you're in the Southern California area, kind of started to mimic that a little bit. And not just for like some of the goods that they have, but also some of those prices that they had. There were some prices that I saw where I was like, I can either wait till the next time I go to Frankenstein's, or wait for somebody to list it at an even cheaper option online on Mercari, OfferUp, or even Facebook Marketplace, to be quite honest. I mean, the closest to what I saw that I wanted to get myself was a McFarlane Toys Red Sun Superman, and even then, it's Red Sun Superman. There'll be a better option on Mercari later down the line. He's not priority. And then for you was a Sailor Moon bottle opener.
Bottle opener, but I was like, it's not making me go crazy over it. But I did a lot. I don't know. It was a lot of art stuff. It wasn't a lot, even for your toys. I saw a lot of Funko, but I didn't see a lot of McFarlane toys. I didn't see a lot of anything.
Well, to be honest, I did see a lot of McFarlane's.
I saw a little, but I just saw a lot of Funko.
Here's the thing, and I feel like we're finally coming full circle to the big thing with COVID, where the overproduction of COVID, not just with McFarlane, but with a bunch of toy companies, were overproducing some shit. Because I did see a lot of McFarlane. It was just not a lot of McFarlane that I wanted. There was an awful lot of King Shazam, a lot of I can't remember the Earth Batman.
Stuff you already have.
Not either stuff that I already had or stuff that is like easy peg warmers. The stuff that back in 2022, 2023, you would go to a Walmart and it was always there. Like I said, King Shazam, that Green Lantern Batman, that female Batman that's like aquatic and kind of gothic looking, that would be everywhere that I went. That Superman with all the armor. Like I said, I'm escaping on the names right there because right now I'm tired and I'm actually in need of some sustenance. So let's take a break here and try one of the cookies.
For real?
Yeah, I know you've been looking depressed. You want to try? You going for the Macadamia? I'm going for the Cowboy. I know. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going for the chocolate chip because I've always said that you can tell a lot about a cookie place by their chocolate chip. Ooh, it's not. Gooey. But it doesn't look raw, I think. One of my greatest fears is that a cookie is a little too underbaked to where it's borderline raw. No, right? Because I could see crumb.
How is that?
Pause. Yeah, it's just gooey. You could probably just put.
But you always want like 2 minutes or so extra.
Mm-hmm.
It's your preference.
Not bad. You want to bite my finger? How's the milk?
Crispy.
It's ice cold. I'm actually kind of surprised that we found a McDonald's that actually gave us like some milk in on time. It better be, because here they charge 69 cents extra. It's $1.69 instead of $1 flat.
Why?
Nice. So now, out of all these, the one that I knew I needed to try, the Cowboy.
You're ugly.
He did say that. He did say,
I
what was
love
it?
that.
He said cinnamon, oatmeal, chocolate chip, and then there was one fourth thing that he mentioned. I can't remember what it was.
Brown sugar?
Did he say brown sugar?
Or it seems like we'll have it.
Crispy edge.
It's gotta be brown sugar now.
Walnuts. There's nuts. Thankfully we're not allergic. Alright, so thank God that the guys who were having car trouble right next to us got their car started. That way they don't approach me.
Jesus!
Okay. I know why that one's $1.45 extra. I get it. Pretty plain.
See, I don't like snickerdoodle like that.
What? No, it does that.
It's just mainly like a regular sugar cookie. I'm like,
Snickerdoodle's alright. Not bad. But it doesn't stand out. This Cowboy though. The last one before I actually start to get little, in Spanish we call it empalagado, when you get like the too much sweetness. So I guess before I cut off, white macadamia. Getting old is actually appreciating white macadamia more than when you were a kid, because when you're a kid you're all about that chocolate chip.
whatever.
And she's gone. I'm finally rid of her. No. So, funny story, quick reason as to why we now jumped to this portion here after the taste test of those immaculate cookies, which I am so sorry. At that time that I was filming that, I didn't really give you guys a proper look at those cookies. They were from this place called Milk and Cookies in Fullerton, California. Really great packaging. I like the matte finish of the box. It's like, I got this black matte finish. It feels very good in hand. But then on the inside, you got not only a reflective foil kind of lining on the inside, but then you have your cookies waiting for you, and we got 6, a half dozen. But the reason for why she's gone is because it was getting late. She has to go to bed, so I went and dropped her off, and I'm like, you know what, let me just come back here in the driveway of my own home and get this done, and arguably with some slightly better lighting, if I'm being quite honest. But now that we're away from the taste test, I can kind of pick up where I left off, which is to kind of say that unfortunately I was a little let down by the vendors that were on the show floor. Not the worst outing necessarily, it wasn't like empty. Like I said, the actual management of the crowds and being able to navigate the entire area was way better than Comic-Con in my opinion. I just felt like I managed time poorly. It was mostly on me and my girlfriend's fault, because I felt like we probably should have gone there at least an hour earlier, and I think we just kind of got a little overly confident of how much we can really cover, combined with the actual physical distance in between each booth, each table. I did manage to check out Mike's Toys and Stuff. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, that was actually one of the places that I wanted to check out, and he was there, had some neat figures on clearance, but nothing that I specifically spoke out to me. And as I kind of kept going, yeah, there wasn't really anything that I felt compelled to purchase. Even my girlfriend kind of walked away empty-handed. There was one point where her and I separated for her to go to this vendor that looked like it sold books, and I went to one that, yet again, sold collectibles and action figures. And we both kind of just met back in the middle with disappointment on our faces, because with her, she was disappointed that that place that seemingly sold books was just comic books and graphic novels. No actual novels, no actual books. And then with me, it was, again, more of the same stuff. The same assortment of Mafexes, same assortment of McFarlane's, Marvel Legends, Mezco. And gotta be honest, like I said, I know this could be seen as a major criticism, because it kind of is, but an awful lot of these people kind of overpricing their shit. To the point where every single time I thought I saw something that kind of piqued my interest, and then I saw the price tag, and my gut feeling immediately said, this thing is cheaper on Mercari, or on eBay, or on OfferUp, or Facebook Marketplace. I'd rather just go there. There was one in particular that was the Mafex Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, and this lady was selling it for like $170. And I know for a goddamn fact that I've seen that guy go for like somewhere between $50 and $60 on Mercari, maybe rounded to about 80 after taxes and shipping. There you go. I'm like, and I started to get that vibe from a lot of different sellers and vendors, and nothing was changing. So it was kind of a bummer. But at the same time, not only poetic, but also serves me right, and it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because ironically, while all this happening, while I was walking the floor, walking away with nothing, my phone was kind of blowing up with notifications of a lot of things shipping and charging, to the point where I'll just tell you guys this. April is going to be a very Mafex heavy month as far as the content on the channel is concerned. So look out for that. A lot of Mafex stuff. For those of you who are part of that community, you probably already know which ones are kind of arriving on top of the stuff that I'm already kind of filming in the process right now. So after that, the main highlight of the day was finally checking out Todd McFarlane's panel. Both of his panels, the one that he did personal as far as like a spotlight on his career and on his life and advice and taking questions and stuff. That was at 5:15 to 6:15. And it was the same stuff that he always kind of comments on as far as like what got him into the career of both comic books and toys, and also serving as a bit of a motivational kind of speech. You know, the kind of stuff that I often kind of pull some parallels from and think to myself, okay, how can I kind of model myself after his parallels, but just adapt it to what I'm going through and try to get out of it. Prior to that, though, arguably much more important, was the McFarlane Toys panel that was jam-packed with reveals. Now, granted, we might not care about all the reveals, because admittedly, one little criticism is that I did feel like they kind of petered towards the end, where they were just kind of rushing through the things that we can all kind of read the room and go, yeah, there's an awful lot of people that are not going to be biggest aficionados of the UFC stuff, the baseball stuff. Maybe, most definitely Spawn. And he did cap the whole thing off of a Spawn, which is his own personal brand, his own personal, property that he's responsible for. So it only makes sense that he would end it with the resin statue and a couple of other figures that are up for pre-order that are already kind of bleeding into certain stores, which they kind of touched upon here, not just with Spawn, but with some other DC Multiverse stuff that they were like trying to tiptoe around the fact that you can, if you hunt long enough, you could probably still find some things without having the need to pre-order. Either stuff that's already up for pre-order or is about to go up for pre-order in a couple of weeks. So they were kind of trying to dance around that. I kind of wish that maybe we could get a little bit of transparency on that, but at the same time, only time will tell if they ever will. And speaking of transparency, it's probably going to be a little while longer for them to make any kind of official statement on what's happening with the DC license, because it definitely seems like they're trying not to shed any kind of light on that because of the breakneck speed of this specific McFarlane Toys panel, which started off with a little slide to just confirm that they are making toys on the Superman movie by James Gunn. That's it. Brian was also there to simply say, we're not showing you anything, but we're just confirming that we are working on figures and products for this particular property. And then from that point forward, he then wasted practically no time in getting into DC Multiverse. Because, like I said, the TLDR is that we got predominantly the stuff that we were looking for at DC Multiverse right out of the gate. And then after that, we got all the stuff that we kind of sandwiched that you may or may not be interested, as far as like the Marvel statues, the 110 stuff, the 1/6 stuff, even some more coverage on the Berserker figure that's more like the Keanu Reeves. As far as the statues are concerned, I do like that he's finally tackling the literal Spider-Man that's actually on my chest, which is this cover that he did back in the day of Spider-Man. I can't remember what issue. It's definitely after 300. It was like 30. Was it 301 or 302, something like that? But yeah, this specific iconic Todd McFarlane cover, he's finally doing a statue on this. And I got to be honest, I was tempted when he made that announcement, only to then find out that he's doing it in 1/10. That was a little bit of a disappointment. I kind of wish that he was doing 1/6 for that. I think this guy deserves a 1/6, not a 1/10, if I'm being quite honest. But it is what it is. Maybe he'll look better in person, and I might still be compelled to pick it up. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. As far as the DC Multiverse stuff, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in. Spoiler alert. I think the big showstopper was, of course, the confirmation that we're getting Batman Returns. Batman Returns wave, which we all perceive to be a Build-A-Figure, only for them, Brian and Todd, to confirm that they actually ended up pivoting away from that. That was the initial plan, but they pivoted away from Build-A-Figure and are just keeping it to a very simple four-figure wave. And it's frankly the four figures that we knew were going to be the case. It returns Batman of that proper suit with what appears to be an awful lot of fixtures on the suit, specifically the neck. A Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, which is going to sell out. Some people are already making predictions and saying that one's going to be the big seller of that entire wave. Mark my words. Danny DeVito Penguin. And then the big screwball, but I also feel kind of the underdog of the wave, the Max Schreck Christopher Walken figure. Because if they can nail that likeness, probably one of the best Christopher Walken figures we have ever gotten in either a 6-inch or a 7-inch scale. That's going to be remarkable. And then after that, there was confirmation that there wasn't going to be a Build-A-Figure, but goddamn Todd McFarlane is going to be doing a army builder sort of set of the cyborg penguins from the ending of Batman Returns. Goddamn cyborg penguins. He's actually doing it. The son of a bitch is doing it. And from the picture, it kind of leads us to believe that there's going to be like a set of 3. So if you want to get like a proper army, we're probably looking at like 9 or 12. So you just got to pick up maybe 3 or 4 sets of those a piece, and you're good to go. It's got to create a whole diorama. Though, if they ever want to tease the idea, kind of dance with the idea of making some kind of a vehicle out of Batman Returns, it's got to be that rubber ducky thing that Penguin shows up at the party. It's got to be that thing. And then as far as variants and platinums, I mean, everybody in the subreddit that mentioned on the post that I made, which was also one of my highlights of today, it seems like I broke the news about the Batman Returns wave on the subreddit, which was kind of cool because I posted it thinking others were going to post it at the exact same time, but it looks like for a little while people didn't really know because my shit was blowing up. I was actually pretty insane because I typically am not the poster, or I simply just see other people post about reveals at these panels. So it was kind of a cool, little famous moment of me being able to break the news on the subreddit and getting all these comments and gifs and reactions to the wave. And judging by those reactions, we can tell that this wave is going to sell. And specifically that Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, which then led to people theorizing that a really neat and good idea for a platinum would be a battle damage, final scene, final climax Catwoman when she has the mask off and her hair's all crazy. And quite frankly, maybe, just maybe, I'll be compelled to pick up. And then maybe a platinum of the Batman Returns Batman with the mask torn off and conveniently the eye makeup wiped away, like in that, the big thing that we always kind of comment on that scene, with half the Keaton head removed. But only time will tell, because I feel like there's always some kind of weird discrepancy happening with the licenses as far as the Keaton likeness is concerned, because with the Flash movie and then with the 89 solo releases or the multiple releases of the 89 Batman that they have done, something of the likeness has always been kind of a little bit off. So hopefully they manage to kind of strike a deal and kind of get things a little bit ironed out for what it seems to be one of the more anticipated waves from anything both comic and theatrical. Now, there were some applauses and waves and, people kind of creating some kind of applause and a very guttural reaction to some latter reveals, of which I'll show some photos here that I did manage to take some snapshots of. But I gotta be honest, a good chunk of them didn't really speak to me all that much. There was a cool little concept and idea picked up from a comic or a variant or a one-off shoot in the comics. Like, for example, there's that Superman that comes with a lion head that looks intriguing, and maybe I'll pick it up. It's not priority, but it's just so goofy looking, but it's compelling me. It's got this whimsy to it that I'm like, might do that. And then there were a couple of others that, like I said, looked neat, but they didn't really move the needle in a direction that made me go, day one. Nothing really struck that. There was actually one panel, one slide that I looked at and went, I honestly don't really care for any of these whatsoever right here. And yeah, I took a snapshot just for the sake of kind of including it here for editing purposes, but in terms of generating and kind of hype from me for those specific products. They did for some other people, and I have to give some kudos over to McFarlane for taking some of these more obscure takes on characters or characters overall, and simply just saying, that looks cool, I want to make a figure out of it, and just doing it. So, come on. Whether you like McFarlane or hate McFarlane, you got to give some credit to that, to that nature, to that, the ability to just do that. And this was all kind of a perfect way to kind of motivate me to finally do it and actually move on to the next highlight of the night, which was that I was actually got to ask Todd a question. Because I know that sometimes at these panels they do Q&As, and for the McFarlane Toys panel, he did manage to sneak in a quick session of a Q&A, but it was literally quick, as in me and two other guys, because they had so much to go through as far as the slides that they only squeezed in a handful of people, and thank God me and my girlfriend sat right next to the microphone, or very close to the microphone, that I was able to just jump in there and be third in place. And he cut it off right after me, to the point where a lady behind me was actually getting kind of mad. And she was spinning this sob story to one of the ushers there, that she was there the whole time, just in the back. And I gotta be honest, I never saw her. And that's kind of on her bad. Why are you all the way in the back? You should be seated just like I was next to the microphone if you really wanted to ask a question. I'm sorry, but for future reference. So, before the cutoff, a couple of other guys asked the question, and I got to ask my own, which you're going to see the clip right here.
Hello, Todd.
Hey, how are you?
How's it going? My name is David.
David, what are you doing, Dad?
I'm sorry?
What are you doing, dude?
Mostly YouTube and mostly wearing your shirt.
Oh, thanks.
My own question would be, your 30 years of McFarlane Toys, and then recently I've been watching videos about like the legacy of toy industries and how they industrialized something like Kenner did their thing, Toy Biz did Pinless, did all this. What is one factor, element that you want your legacy of McFarlane Toys to be remembered, as far as a joint, a fabric, a design choice, or a business stipulation that made you go, okay, we remember McFarlane. That's what's going to be remembered.
So I don't get control over that. You just do it. Here's what I would like to say. In hindsight, I hope that people at some point will go, he showed us that there's an option to make toys cooler, right? When I got into the industry, there weren't really a lot of cool looking toys. I mean, I go to Toy Fair, there weren't a lot of toys. There were hundreds and hundreds, but there were very few. I remember my first Toy Fair, there were maybe 3 or 4 that I was jealous of, right? And now I go to Toy Fair, you go to San Diego Comic-Con or whatever, there are hundreds and hundreds of toys I'm jealous of that we don't make. And so the one thing about having to be successful, and this is where people all the time, sometimes people get weird, they're like, oh, you want to be rich and famous, you got an ego. Yes, you should have an ego if you want to try and do anything, because it's a competitive nature. You have to succeed. I don't want to succeed because I want to be rich and famous. I have to succeed so I can continue doing the art, right? And so nobody was going to follow making cooler toys and adding more paint and doing more articulation and doing all the things that are now here that are almost commonplace, unless some of us succeeded showing that you could actually make a living doing it. That's why you need to succeed. And so when we came out and McFarlane Toys did so good, then yes, competition came along, which is healthy in any business, and now there's thousands of brilliant toys for everybody in this room to pick from, right? I hope we have some of them, but I'm sure you guys collect plenty of others from other ones. That wasn't true. So at some point when you look back, you just go, oh, they were sort of the beginning of it, right? Because they were just doing corporate toys. And then he started doing toys for us, right? For us. And now people have now taken that mantle. And if I help sort of push that boulder down the hill, that's enough. I'll feel good about that. So, and the people that work at McFarlane Toys. So. All right. I think that's it. I think
that was pretty awesome, and it was a really great insight as to what he would want to, kind of keep things in people's minds as far as the McFarlane Toys brand, regardless of what licenses swap, what licenses he gains versus which ones he loses. So that's kind of like the way I've perceived it. And then after that, they actually managed to give away some action figures. They were actually giving away to the people that did manage to ask questions. He did give away an action figure. and I got randomly the Sergeant Rock Collector's Edition. This looks pretty nice. It's not bad looking. I didn't, it's one of those figures where I see it in store, not interested, I'm good. For free? Hell yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, look at that. Collector's Edition Sergeant Rock. Not too bad. And who knows, maybe this guy will peak up in popularity once that movie gets made. Whoever ends up starring in it. And then apart from that, that's really about it. Like I said, there was no perceived huge WonderCon haul or anything like that. And frankly, that was really about it. We capped off the Comic-Con day with that panel and with me being able to ask that question during the McFarlane Toys panel. Then after that, me and the girlfriend went and got ourselves a very gourmet grilled cheese that we both share, made out of goat cheese. You heard that right. And then that led us to the cookies, and now here we are. The voice is now sore. I'm going to go in there and start dumping this footage, editing it together for you guys' pleasure. And then furthermore, get to work on that InArt 1/12 scale Dark Knight Rises Batman review, because that thing needs to get to working, because I'm pretty stoked to finally bring you guys that review. It takes a little longer than other folks because, like I said, I like to get things a little bit more meticulous when it comes to like the detail, the close-ups, the pans. That's going to require the review to take a little longer than anticipated, but hopefully it'll be worth it, not just for myself as the producer of the video, but also for you guys to check it out and watch it in its full glory. So I'm gonna go and get started getting work on that as I come down from the sugar high of the cookies. But in the meantime though, if you guys enjoyed this somewhat spontaneous WonderCon one-day vlog and enjoyed it thoroughly, hit the thumbs up button. If not, hit the thumbs down. What are your guys' reactions to everything that was unveiled at the McFarlane Toys panel? Are you guys stoked for that Batman Returns wave, or do you think they could have done better? Do you think that, judging by the renders, which are just renders, does it look like they improved an awful lot of things that were being criticized about the 89 model, or do you think that it's kind of remaining the same, or you're just simply waiting until those promo shots are finally revealed as we kind of get closer to the end of 2025? Looking forward to what you guys have to say as far as reactions are in the comment section. And until next time, guys, stay humble and take care.